All right, ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the delay. Unfortunately, you may or may not hear me differently when it comes to the sound of my voice because, well, I had an issue with my cable. I'll get to that in a second, but our guest, certainly, he has got a lot on his mind. We were hyping him up all throughout yesterday's show, and he's going to talk about what is the future of Ego, what is the future of his career, as he's going to talk all things related to DBW. And this man, it's been a while. It's been a hot skip in a minute since we've had him on here, and he has definitely shown why he is one of the up and coming young stars in this sport. He has held gold in multiple places. He has been a world champion in DBW. He has certainly been a top star in VTW, and he is going to talk about all those things here and some. Our guest needs no further introduction, but because he is a blaze, and well, I didn't really start out in a blaze of glory here with this introduction, I am going to try to make up for it here and give him that introduction that everybody else here and all of his peers gets time and time again here on Sportswire Radio. So with that, without further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one Apple Sports Show from the group Ego. They call him the Blaze. My friend, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm living my life, man.
It's funny. This was the first intro I did where it was almost like I coughed all of a sudden. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to top this? And certainly, I think I made up for it in the second part of the intros. Obviously, I'm no DVG. I'm obviously no anybody else that will come on here from intros. But obviously, it has been a hot skip in a minute since we've had you on here, the Blaze Ace Christian. I don't know if you caught the end of Sportswire Radio's last show we did, obviously, with Mr. DVG. And I'm going to actually ask you a funny question. It's going to probably catch you completely off guard before we talk a lot about Merry Mayhem next week. But, I promised I would do this. So for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, the Blaze Ace Christian, what do you think about Robert Pearson's new haircut?
Okay, so okay. All right. So first of all, I was not expecting you to ask that. So
you were expecting it? Well, you know what?
I was not.
No, I was gonna say I don't think you expected that.
I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
I'm going to ask Corey Graves this question at 9:00. But I mean, I got a lot to talk about. You obviously, Mr. Judgment, the aftermath of that, Ego certainly struggles. But I mean, I know we're in the holiday spirit. I know everybody's thinking about their holiday gift wish list and eggnog and Santa Claus and all the trackers. But I mean, Robert Pearson getting a haircut. He is supposed to be the bone shaker, and he looks like it's almost like he is a chia pet right now. I mean, I'm just saying.
I mean, good for him. Me personally, I dig it, but whatever floats his boat. So.
Well, I suppose that obviously, I'm sure one day he'll come back on. I'm sure Corey Graves will certainly give me a rather different perspective, but I thought that would kind of lighten the mood a bit. And I have a ton of people who are here. I say hello to you, and also let me know if you're out there and if my mic sounds like a little bit not like it's on. So, because I do think I'm having a mic issue, but that's here nor there. We'll definitely talk a lot about, I'm sure, Robert Pearson's haircut with Corey Graves' spot. But the Blaze Ace Christian. you have had, I guess, a rather downward spiral since you've come on Sportswire Radio the first time. Now, you're going to obviously have a huge opportunity, though, next week to be able to redeem yourself and go into 2024 with a ton of momentum. So I have to ask you, the Blaze Ace Christian, talk about the importance of your match where you can pick up a tag team championship on behalf of Ego in a singles match against the man that certainly made your life a living hell at Thursday Night Thunder Punch, Caden Phoenix.
So I wanted to, I was hearing Caden Phoenix from the ring on Thunder Punch, and I had to come out. He is by far, with flowers to him, probably the greatest tag team competitor in our company's history.
No question about it.
He's had tag gold from people like Cyrus, people like Sammy Nothing. Like, it's all over the board. And we've had our stuff once DBW first started, and it was actually for the tag gold. But as I told him on Thunder Punch, it is a completely different time frame, a completely different Ace Christian, and I feel like
you've matured, you've grown up.
Yeah. And picking up this win when I win the tag team championships, I feel like it's going to prove something. Like, I know I may have downgraded from the world championship to the tag team championships, but it's the worth of not just me, but for the whole group of Ego, because Colin and AJ, they have solidified themselves as the greatest tag team of all time.
And we saw that reference to Thursday Night Thunder Punch, where we saw the fact that AJ talked about going after singles gold, and we obviously saw Colin mix it up there in the Rumble to determine the number one contendership to, well, your father, man. I'm sure you obviously. Well, I'm sure I'll ask you about later on.
So the other thing about that too is, after World War happened, we had that little conversation between the four of us, and although the outcome was definitely not the way we wanted it to, as our colleague Roland Havoc had mentioned, once things start to go downward, we got to shake things up. We got to change the game the way it works in our favor. And that's going to take time. It's going to take the losses. It's going to take the things that you don't want. But you just got to trust the process. So I know people have been saying about how Ego has been on this.
I've been saying it here.
I know.
I have been saying it for weeks. I mean, I've had the Stompers on. I've had, Chaos Conspiracy. You guys came up. Cyrus has been on here. I mean, DVG we had on yesterday. I mean, I've had your father even on, by the way, since you last came. I've had Brandon Castelli. I'm on a who's who of people in the company, and the number one consensus has been, whether you're on Ego's side or not, is that Ego is really taken a huge step down since World War.
And like I said, it's a tough pill to swallow. But like I said, you can look at us as a group that's taken a tank this year, but you got to look at it as what we've done before, and you got to take that into consideration. We're not frauds. We're not just a one-hit wonder. The group Ego has been around for a while. They changed the game.
You joined this group, and since you joined the group, that's where the group has struggled.
So I don't know if you're trying to take a dig at me saying
no. I'm being objective. I'm trying to be totally objective. You know I'm a big fan of your work. You know I love everything about you. The fans love you. You truly are one of the premier up and coming talents. And in fact, you're such an up and coming talent that you're I believe in the top 200 currently in Kings and Queens magazine of all different wrestlers ranked that they rank, whether it's in independent shows or anything else you want to call it. So your body of work shows that whether it's about wins or losses or not, you are a nationally ranked wrestler. So it's not a dig at you. It's just the body of work, unfortunately for me on Sportswire, has to bring it up since you've joined the group. Havoc lost the World Extreme title. Ego loses the tag titles. And you obviously lost against your father.
Yeah, I hear you, and I was just joking with you. I know how you are, and I respect you, and I know you respect me.
Of course.
So, but I mean, realistically and statistically, yes, you are right. Ever since I've joined Diego, it hasn't been doing so well. But you got to think about it this way.
Sure.
Adding a new member is a pretty big deal.
I agree with that. I'll give you
because
that. Yeah.
because like I was saying before, like before I even joined Diego, they were with Pure Ignorance. Pure Ignorance took over DVW by storm, ultimately taking my world championship with Damien Fatale. That's right. But they were with them, and they were pretty successful with Pure Ignorance. But they also had their downfall too. And what happened? Pure Ignorance dissolved. And ever since that dissolved, Ego has shot right back up again, with Rolling Havoc, changing the game in the World Extreme division.
1 year he was the champion. I mean, he took that title and made it into something that it really wasn't for
so
a long
much
time.
better. So much
Absolutely,
better.
I agree with you on that. That I agree with.
But not only that, but Austin James and Colin Graves winning the tag team champions again, and becoming the longest reigning tag team champions in DBW history. So, you can say that Ego is having their downfall right now, but look at what happened before. They were doing pretty good with Pure Ignorance. Once they dissolved out of Pure Ignorance, that was like their downfall. They shot right back up. And so, I mean, I don't like to look at it the past, but when people, say that we're not doing good right now, while yes, that's true, I don't like when people act like it's going to stay that way, because it is not going to stay that way at all. Because like I said before, and like Roland Havoc said before, we got to change the game so that way it works in our favor. And it's going to take time to do that.
I'm going to get to comments, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I also want to thank my very, very lovely friend, the lovely Zena out there in Sheepshead Bay. Thank you for tuning in and telling me my mic is on, but I'm telling you my mic may not be on because I didn't get a signal for it, but it's a long story. I'll fix that when I'm off the air with you. But let me then ask you a follow-up, and I'll get to people. A lot of people want to talk to you, but I guess I would say then, going back to originally, this could be the springboard, though. Think about it. You win this match next weekend. Everything I've been saying here for the past 2-3 months on Sportswire is all forgotten because you go into the year, into 2024, not only with winning gold, but a springboard that could really propel the group, like you said, back up to the top of the heap where maybe Roland Havoc goes back out there and gets different gold. Obviously, we saw AJ and Colin have said you've got Ariel as well. Ariel did a great job in the Rumble, by the way. I got to give Ariel a huge plug. I mean, she definitely held her own. So, that's another also cog you have in the group. So I guess then really next weekend, you bring home those tag belts, and I'll eventually ask you some further thoughts on those belts should you win it. But I guess then it is a point to be made that you win next Saturday. Almost everything I've talked about and other people have chatted about in DBW, in the DBW universe, I think is kind of over, and you guys then have a huge feather in your cap going in for a big 2024.
Like I said before, you can't look at it as a downgrade from World War to now challenging for the world title to the tag team titles, because the person that I'm about to beat is like I mentioned before,
Oh, no question what he's done in this
the great
company. Yep.
the greatest tag competitor in our company's history. Taking that win into next year will put people on notice again, and it will bring that to their attention that we are not going anywhere. And when I win those tag team championships, I'm going to have 2 tag team championships on my shoulder,
I was
and
gonna get to that.
I can't really do that. So it's also a wild card as to who's going to be my tag team partner. Austin James talked about going for the global title, but he's got to slowly get back into
Yeah, I
the
think
wrestling ring
we're
after
assuming he's
his
not ready yet.
injury.
Yep. Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
you
you
got
also got
options.
yeah, I definitely do. You got Colin Graves. He's challenging for the World Championship, and if he wins the when he wins the World Championship, hey, he could hold 2 titles.
Double champion, sure.
Yeah,
Double
I
champion.
mean, you got Ariel. She
Hey,
held
she
her
did a
own in
great
that
job in the
Rumble.
Rumble, by the way. She held
Hey,
her own.
no one will expect that. But you also got Roland Havoc. You know, he isn't doing much at Mary Mayhem this show, so you know I could bring that to him. I could bring, at least people guessing, and that's kind of what I want to try to do when I win those tag team championships to keep people guessing and to keep people, thinking about what I could do.
Absolutely, no question about that. And before I get to comments, I want everybody to follow Dominant Breakout Wrestling on several platforms, including Facebook at Dominating Backyard Wrestling, YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, where you can watch the last episode of Thursday Night Thunder Punch. You can also get ready to watch Merry Mayhem next Saturday, just 6 days from now, and also on Twitter, or it's X, whatever it's called at this point, Twitter X. I don't even know what you want to call it. DBW Wrestling. It's still out there. Check out all those great platforms. We're going to plug the Blaze Ace Christian in a second. But speaking of people, I'm going to be talking about a lot in the second of 2 shows tonight for DBW. Mr. Big Tex, the #1 contender, the big man of DBW, to your father. And he certainly said a lot to your father at the end of Thursday Night Thunder Punch. I'm going to ask his buddy, Mr. Corey Graves, about that at 9 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. And my guest at 9 o'clock is here, Mr. Corey Graves. So obviously, we'll say hello to them. But, obviously a guy that also defeated you at Danger Zone, a guy that certainly is no longer the Bitcoin billionaire. He wants to be known as I Love Aaron, although Aaron certainly, did a few things to him. And I've also heard through the grapevine, by the way, that Mr. Chase Wakefield is apparently trying to grow mutton chops. Can you confirm or deny this? Because Mr. DVG claims that Mr. Wakefield is actually trying to grow mutton chops as well. So I'm kind of fascinated by that more so than your response to him, but I'll still let you have an opportunity to respond back to Chase Wakefield, Mr. I Love Aaron, no longer the Bitcoin billionaire.
First of all, I could care less what is growing on his face. Number two, kudos to him. He beat me. But I hate to say this and I hate to make this excuse, but I was kind of off that day.
Yeah.
I did get involved with him at Thunder Punch leading up to that, but it was just like, I just I'm not sure what was going through my mind. I just came off off of probably my biggest loss of my career.
We
You
had you
know,
on right before the match. We were talking with you, and that was like a lot on the line. I felt that if I looked back on my 2023 interviews, and I know there was hundreds of them, somebody can fact check me. Obviously, Miss Zena can do that. Obviously, the first lady of Sportswire or anybody else, you can go and fact check. But I think your interview for me felt like that it was one of the bigger interviews that we had just because of just everything that was there. So I understand your point.
like like I said, I hate to make that excuse, but I do have to give him his flowers. He did scout me that night. I wasn't even able to hit my finisher maneuver on him.
Yep.
So I mean, he's known me for a long time. One of the original people at DBW. So and like I said, I was just kind of off that night, and I feel like had I, had that world championship or had won at World War, it would be a completely different story. But kudos to him. He did get the job done, and I didn't. But it's got to change this show.
No question about it. We're all excited about that. Well, I get some more comments. I actually do want to plug your social media because I worked on. People are telling me my mic is on, but oddly enough, StreamYard isn't telling me it's on. So, thank you everybody for that. I do have the Blaze Ace Christian here on a number of platforms. Check him out on Instagram at Ace_Christian1, Twitter, The Real Blaze DBW, TikTok, which I have to get on TikTok. People have been telling me I have to get on TikTok. I have to get on TikTok. I will get on there soon. Ace_Christian1. I will. I just like 17 point, but I will promise you I will get on there. But follow in the meantime the Blaze Ace Christian on those platforms he's on. So let me get to more comments because I am really, really behind. Want to say hello to my buddy Ron out there in Pennsylvania. Sorry, Ron, about the Packers. My guest yesterday, who, by the way, at the end of the show, Mr. DVG, who's got 75,000 plus subscribers on YouTube, I actually inducted him into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And stay tuned for more details on a ceremony for that. So definitely, we talked about his decorated career outside of wrestling, some of the things he's doing. We were also interrupted by a guy, Antonio Arreyes. So we're going to actually talk about that, I'm sure, with DVG again. But thank you for tuning in, my friend. Want to say hello to my buddy from Resurrection Wrestling, Mr. D'Angelo LaFlame, who gives the hello like I do it on Sportswire. I don't know who Giancarlo is, but I say hi and thank you for tuning in. Your brother and Ego, who, by the way, celebrated a birthday not too long ago. Happy belated birthday, my brother. We'll definitely see you on Sportswire back in 2024. Hello, Taylor. I don't know who Taylor is, so sorry if I don't know who you are. But how about the man that defeated you at Thursday Night Thunder Punch, who got arguably his biggest win in DBW yet, Mr. Jackson Sabre? A defeat is a look you wear well, Blaze. What do you want to say to that, the Blaze Ace Christian?
I did challenge him. I did say it was a warm-up match.
You did.
I had you, little bro. I had you. You knew it. I knew it. They knew it. But you needed the help. You were just so lucky that I, am in this beef with Caden Phoenix for the tag team champions. Had I not been in that beef with him, that's just another L in your books. You can say that I've lost all year. I've done this. I've done that. But as I mentioned to you to your face, and I will gladly say this to you again any day of the week, what have you done since you've been here? I mean, sure, you beat me. Good for you. You needed help. You didn't cleanly beat me. But like I said, what have you done? And what have I done this year? I mean, I've won the Holy Grail Gauntlet. I don't think you were on that. And what about before that? How many championships in DBW? The World Championship, Global Championship, Arrowhead Championship, Tag Team Championships. The list goes on and on all day, bro. Like, you need to make a statement for yourself before you say anything to me, because you were talking to an OG of DBW. I don't know if you realize that. I don't care if I'm 17 or if I'm 12, like I was before. I am an OG, bro. I don't think
you still look older than Chase Wayfield, at least.
Well, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. But I actually, it's funny you said that, Real Hook, and I promise I'll get to more people. I know I have a ton of comments, but I'm curious because you've obviously had a lot of success in DBW, also in VTW. I'm going to get to VTW in a little while as well. I know I have a lot to cover with you, but a lot of guys have come on Sportswire recently who, maybe, how could I put this? And I say this all the time a lot when I speak with my British independent pro wrestlers, when certain guys used to come on Sportswire and they probably had more interview appearances on Sportswire than matches. Obviously, Jackson being a little bit facetious toward him on that. But how do you feel, though, when a lot of these guys who might be, I don't know if you want to call them newbies, Johnny-come-latelys, come on here and they talk smack about whether it's ego, whether it's about, anybody else in the company that is, put together the results like yourself? And what does that make you feel when, and again, these newbies, these Johnny come latelys, these even new kids on the block is a term I've been using since I guess they're back out there and they're relevant again. But I mean, what does that make you feel when all these people talk that really don't have any results to show for it?
You know, I mean, I try to block it out, but whenever it's settling in the ring, that's a different story. So, like Jackson Saber, I'm going to talk to this guy because he wants to come on here, say stuff to me, and we squared off before. I know what he's like, and I will gladly face you again next year, and I'll put you on the ground again, or not. I shouldn't say again because I don't win, but I will put you on the ground. But like other guys like Jake Cassidy and Robert Pearson. They haven't said much to me, or I don't remember if they said anything about me
No, but
or
even
about Hugo.
listen, we've had different people come on the show. Obviously, Cyrus is back, and he's got a new edge, and certainly, you have a lot of history with him. Obviously, he sees things differently. Yes, Chaos Conspiracy. There's no beef with you, but they've come on here, and obviously Robert Pearson. Again, leave aside the new look, Robert Pearson. Maybe that'll get him more results. But there's a lot of people in DBW. Obviously, Big Texas come on here now. He obviously got a huge Rumble win, and we'll see if it trends. I'm going to ask Corey Graves that question. We've had the Stompers on here. We've had Mr. T3. The point is we had a lot of people on here in DBW, and some of them have had success and some of them have not had success. But you've been here, sir. You've been here, Ace Christian the Blaze, since day one, and you've done a lot in this sport. And again, as I pointed out correctly, you are even a ranked wrestler in a respected magazine. You're not just some guy that wrestles just in DBW or VTW. You are respected by somebody that goes out and covers this and sees different people how you match up to. So that's why I asked you that question.
I mean, that doesn't go for just DBW. That goes for, like you had mentioned, anywhere. DBW is my home company. But, man, once I'm 18, like, I'm going to go all over the place. Like, it's technically not legal to be wrestling right now. But,
well, we were talking off the air. We were talking about maybe you coming to my home state, maybe. And I was like, yeah, are you kidding? You're the Blaze Ace Christian. Of course I'd want to meet you.
Like it just depends on, the people and the owners and the, overall companies that would like me to be there. And, it, it impacts me like mentally in a good way because it shows, how good I am and like that people truly want me to showcase what I got there. And it's only like I've talked to some of my guys in North Carolina, guys up in DBW about it. I'm only 17, so it's just like the level that I'm competing at right now, and I'm only 17. Just imagine like when I'm 20.
We spoke about it.
I'm not even in my prime yet, and
listen,
look up where
we
I'm
spoke about it the first time you came on. I think I had made the comparison to a guy I interviewed, Two-Bit, who was on the WWE Network about maybe a year and a half ago now, and he started out in 12, and he was 12 years old, and he took training sessions there in the UK, and I think he's now 22, so that's 10 years. So think about, take a step back, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, where could you be? I mean, and I look at your stuff, and it's certainly crisp for your age, for what you do in that ring, your move shape, your look. I mean, you definitely, and I'm not just saying it because you come on here and, obviously you love being on Sportswire. I'm saying it because, as you know, I do watch a lot of wrestling. In fact, the Kings and Queens magazine, the person that's behind that, he talked to me about what do I think about DBW. He asked me, what do I think about the different people that I see out there? Because and I'm going to say it, not to be boastful, as the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, I am the only person out there in this game, whatever you want to call it, that actually covers the pros. I cover the independents. I cover whatever you want to call it, the semi-pro in between, the backyarders. And I know when somebody can wrestle and somebody is doing it because they're a weekend warrior. Trust me when I say this, you're not a weekend warrior. And I have no doubt that if whatever you decide to do in the future, you're going to be a guy that's going to be in a number of places. But I have a lot of comments here, and people really want to get in touch with you, and I really appreciate the support. I want to say hello to my buddy last weekend, one half of Chaos Conspiracy, the prodigal son himself, Mr. Jacob Cass. And I feel like I butchered it last time, calling him the prodigal son, but it's the prodigal son. So I'll have to remember that, and somebody can correct me further on that. Saber, you had help to beat Ace. He had you beat. Now, obviously, I have to get in this person because this is somebody you know very, 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 very well. You may be a different person now, but you're going to get that same butt whooping kid. And I think you might want to say something about this.
I do. I whenever I first came in that ring, I obviously laid out the challenge, and people call me crazy, and people said it's going to be child abuse, and I hate when people say that. I'm not the same 12-year-old kid I was.
Well, Judgment talked about
ago.
putting you in the ground, basically. I mean, when he was here, basically, and I'm sure you remember that.
I do, but like it's not gonna be like that, like I told him in person, and like I said, I will do this again until it gets through his head. I am not the same guy that you were just tossing around years ago. I'm different, and you have to study me, and I mean, there's not much else I have to really say because I said what I said in the ring. I don't typically like to talk online or do all that chit chat.
No, you haven't been. That's why I asked you that question. You have not been one of those guys that goes out there and certainly goes out and talks a big game. You're one of these guys that goes out there in the ring and lets your work do the talking. You let your wrestling abilities tell the story on where you're going to go. I mean, so you're not one of these guys. A lot of guys that come onto Sportswire, right? Whether they're in DBW or not, they want to come on here and talk about why they're the greatest, they're the best, and blah, 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 blah. But you really don't do that. You actually came on here tonight because you felt like you wanted to get something off your chest. It wasn't like, hey, of course, we always want you on. The floor is always with, you're the Blaze Ace Christian. We would love to have you on every day if you want. But the truth is that, you requested the floor tonight because you did have a lot to get off your chest, especially the last few months, what is going on in DBW.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, as I mentioned before about, the ups and downs everybody's going to have, period,
Sure.
point and blank. Not just ego, not just a faction, not just a single person, but just life in general. People are going to have their up and downs in whatever situation. And
absolutely, I experienced them all today. I mean, obviously, our first
microphone,
the first lady Zena, really getting mad at me today on Sportswire, rightfully so. I mean, listen to another friend of mine, Anthony Finkel, getting mad at me for something I said on a radio station on Wednesday nights. I didn't even remember what I said. So, we all go through ups and downs. But the fact of the matter is, I do think, to your credit, to your defense, that sometimes you can actually learn from the down moments. You're never judged in life by what you do great. Nobody learns anything from, some would say this, you never learn from when you win. It's a matter of how you lose and what do you learn from that. How do you deal with the adversity? You've had adversity, but I think you, and a lot of people do think, you have an excellent opportunity to redeem yourself and have a huge springboard for maybe the biggest year yet of your career in 2024, and the best is yet to come.
Like I said, with the whole shaking things up and everything like that, it's going to take time because all of us in Diego are so used to being in our singles division or being in our tag team division. I hate to say this, but even if I lose, if I lose in that tag team match, I'm going to make a statement either way. Win, lose, or draw, not just in this match, but any match, period. Win, lose, or draw, the point and statement is to leave an impact on that person, in that ring, and on that company. And, whether I walked out with those tag team championships or not, I'm going to make my mark on that tag team division, because if I lose those tag team that tag team championship match, I'm not going anywhere. I'm sticking with that bullet, you know. And if and when I win, I gotta defend those titles. But if I lose, I'm not gonna stop grinding for those tag team championships until we at Ego hold those tag team championships, baby.
Well, I'll tell you
Let's
what, you're
go.
certainly making a strong case that you are going to go out in 2023, as John Bon Jovi famously sang, in a blaze of glory with some gold. I have tons of comments. Let me get to them because I am way
Go
behind. And I
ahead.
want to thank everybody for tuning in. By the way, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling. I want to remind people we're going to take, when we're eventually done with the Blaze Ace Christian, we're going to take a little bit of a break. And I'm going to come back a little after 9 o'clock with Corey Graves. So your DBW fix is only getting started until whenever my voice runs out, pretty much. So whatever one comes to. But no, I'll be all right. I'll drink tons of Coke, and I'll certainly be live wired, and I'll be fine. Pretty much. That's all I do anyway. Listen, I've got probably more Coke in me than blood, but that's here nor
Oh
there.
my god.
It was a joke. I was trying to be fun. I'm trying to work on my humor
No,
these
no,
days, but
I know.
it some people like it. But hey, let's find out what other people think. I didn't see anyone coming out until the bell rang. AJ, it was simply an audio malfunction. He got distracted. Simple as that. Well, I think we explained that, and not my fault that the Blaze doesn't have the ability to multitask. You lost to Jackson Sabre, Chase Wakefield, who I still wonder, though, if he lost Aaron Jones, though, as his best friend, after what we saw in that
Oh
Rumble.
yeah. Yo, get him, bro.
Well,
You
I
see
mean,
what it
DVG had a lot to say about it. I tell you what, DVG had a lot to say about him last night because he's had his issues
I
with them.
bet
And
he
I will
did.
say, if I have one New Year's resolution in 2024, I know there's probably a lot of them. One of my resolutions would be to bring back Chase Wakefield onto Sportswire. I want to hear what he has to say. I want to hear it. You
I
know,
mean, hey, I mean, as a an interviewer, a radio host, I don't blame you, but I wouldn't want that trash back on my radio station. But
he's
hey, you do
he's
you
a
though. You
billionaire
do
though. He's a Bitcoin billionaire.
was, and now he's Aaron Joe's best friend.
And
And
Aaron,
he's
by
not
the
even
way,
he's not
and I
even his
would
best
even
friend
say,
because Aaron
you know
Jones
what?
doesn't even
Actually, real
acknowledge
quick
it.
on that, I think maybe Chase is jealous also because who was Aaron hanging out with yesterday? Some guy named Bobby Fish. I think a lot of people have heard of him.
Yes,
A
sir. I've heard
lot of
of him.
people heard about it. That was a good one. That was a good one. That was a very good one here. And certainly, yeah, we spoke about that already. And obviously, a man you know well, he's still your father. And he says, ego is filth and divinity is the direct cause. There'll be no change to this in 2024. They're all filth. But I'm going to be talking a lot about your father in Corey Graves' segment because, as we know, Big Tex is challenging him for that championship. And Big Tex what did he tell Mr. Judgment at the end of Thursday at Thunder Punch? He's stepping into Big Tex country. And you saw Mr. Judgment, maybe for the first time in his reign as champion, where he looked like maybe there was somebody that could go toe to toe with him. And we saw what Big Tex did to the likes of the It Factor Cyrus and even Brandon Castelli. So he's got a lot of momentum. And I'm going to ask Corey Graves a lot about that. Stay tuned. And also, I literally have the most wins in the company. Called you. Ooh, he took a shot at you there. He said, Caden. He's saying something there. And he also says, hey, I'm in the top 3. Big Tex wants to tell us Divinity will fall and starts at Merry Mayhem. Stay tuned. Find out. Want to say, I know obviously you may not see eye to eye with them, but I like seeing eye to eye. But they definitely, and they also had a big win also in their own right, the Stompers. The Stompers had a huge win against the Brooklyn Prodigies. I mean, a huge win over them. So obviously, Stompers, they've had gold. And I have
Yeah.
no, yep.
I was just gonna say, speaking about the Stompers, I mean, obviously, we don't really have beef, but like as a wrestler, I respect them.
And they're
But
doing vlogs now too, by the way. They're
I
vlogging.
saw I saw I saw that. I saw that. Hey, you stay tuned for them ego vlogs. Yeah. But
Well, and
anyway,
Brandon Costelli's Mr. Vlogger. I mean, Brandon
yeah.
Costelli, he might be vlogging right now for all we know.
No, but like I was saying about the Stompers, I respect them as a wrestler, but you know, once I get those tag team championships, I'm gonna handle that business
And
because
they
I'm sure
never got their
I'm
UFC
sure they're
match.
gonna be in line waiting as they rightfully deserve because
Absolutely.
they just beat Brooklyn Prodigies.
Yep.
But like I said, once you step across that ring for me, it's business, and I'm just standing on business,
And
as they like to say now.
I gotta give a plug, if you don't mind, to the Prodigies. And here's why I'm gonna give that plug to the Prodigies, because the Prodigies are coming to Sportswire on December the 28th. And here's why the Prodigies are also fascinating, especially for the DBW universe. They actually wrestle in a company called Pro Wrestling Venom. And that company, I'm sure you're aware of, is run by a guy that just came onto Sports by Radio named Sergeant Jimmy Controversy. And the Prodigies have cut their teeth in wrestling in the same shoes or in the same ring as the likes of Obey, who just came on here, Hardcore, and Jimmy Controversy, and Dirty Ron, and all those people. And the Prodigies are coming to Sportswire. That's going to be a real treat. And oh, by the way, they're from my neck of the woods. This is going to be one you won't want to miss. Stay tuned for further details on that, because I'm telling you, that's going to be a good one. Casey James gives us the eyeballs. I also have here lots of comments here, and I couldn't read them because I'm clearly blind. No. LOL. What's up, guys? Well, how you doing? Whatever you might want to say. I want to say hello to you. You haven't been here in ages, and thank you for tuning in. Keyword former. You talk about all of these accolades, and yet you have nothing now. And like I said to your face, ego can't save you. And so far, I haven't seen anything that tells me otherwise. And if you still need confirmation for yourself that I can whoop your butt like a redheaded stepchild, talk to Matt. Let's put the final nail in your coffin, Ace.
That's a lot of big game because you haven't said most of that to my face. The only thing you've really said was the stuff about ego saving me. But like I said, I don't like to do all this talk on the internet. Like, come to my face, come to my territory, not your territory, my territory. Say that to my face, and then we can run it up again. Like, I will gladly put you in your place for once and for all.
You know what, Jackson Saber? You'll see if you are a saber-toothed tiger, as we kind of joked here on sports, like the Power Rangers.
I'll rip them teeth out if that's the case.
Some people in the locker room thought it was funny when I said it. Others, not so much. But that's okay. But I got lots of comments here, and but still have nothing on Mac. All right, well that's good to know, I suppose. How you doing there, Master Michael Black? Michael says, "What up, Ace? How you doing, Mike? Hope you're doing well out there on a Sunday night. And if you're out there, be safe. Certainly, especially with all the storms that are coming out here to the Mid Atlantic and the Northeast. And yes, thank you very much. Thank you for your support. I'm going on 5 years, and there is nobody that I think has done more in covering the wrestling scene in the 5 years, whether it's in England, whether it's in the backyard, whether it's in the underground, if you want to call it that, whether it's the independent wrestling scene in America, then yours truly. Yes, I am the only one doing it. But let's move on away from me. Also, what's up, Ace, from Steven Ganna? How you doing, Steve?
What up?
How you doing, Steve? And our good friends over in the UWF, and I got to cover the UWF one of these days. Scorpion here, the assassin. I am very thankful to see how far you've come. The UWF NY awaits your return, hopefully in 2024. Also, once I handle the issues with DBW and Aaron Jones, our path will cross again. So, would you like to be back in the UWF, especially in the summer 2024? That nice weather going up there upstate. I mean, got a good sound for there,
I've been up to UWFNY before in the past and everything like that, and I never really left a good impact on them before.
Yeah.
Because I haven't came out with a victory. I mean, yeah, sure, I've said win, lose, or draw. My main goal is to make the impact. I have not made that impact yet, so we'll keep in touch. We'll keep it
But I tell you what, you're going to be 18 next year, so you're more
Yeah,
mature,
yeah, yeah.
you're
I'm
more
about to be going on.
stronger.
It's about to be the Blaze Ace Christian World Tour, basically.
You know what? And you know, you better get a front row seat to it because I tell you, tickets, they're going to be going like hotcakes. There's going to be very
Going
limited
off like
tickets
a
left.
blaze of glory.
I
Going off
tell
like
you
a
what,
blaze of
get
glory.
those tickets. Yes, it's going to be like a blaze of glory,
Yes,
especially in that
sir.
summer. So make sure you grab a ticket. I know if I'm buying a ticket, I want that front row seat. I want that VIP access so I can
Sign
watch
that
the
autograph.
blaze. Yeah, I want that autograph. Although people are actually telling me I should go on Cameo now. I'm like, no, thank you. No, thanks.
I mean, I was actually thinking about that. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah,
we'll see on
people.
that one.
I've heard from different wrestlers I've been speaking with, and they tell me the same thing. Like, what do you think about Cameo? I'm like, I'm not going to charge people. I'm not at that level. But if you want to do it, I'll definitely pay for you for a cameo. You make it a little.
You're at that level. Don't doubt yourself. You're at that
Well,
level, bro.
I like to give back to the community. I like to give back to the people. I'm
I
not
hear
in it
you.
for that. That's what I like to do. But
I hear you.
obviously, I do want to get to more people. Also, here, yeah, Jimmy controversy is nothing to me. Well, you're going to definitely see it because I'm going to be covering a lot about Jimmy real soon once again. And pack a lunch. You're going to understand the consequences of what you did. Anything you want to say to that before I move on to some plugs and just the talking will be next week?
Go right ahead because there's much more people that are worth more value than him in that comment section.
Fair enough. Well, you know what? That's why you want to follow. In the meantime, first of all, Dominant Breakout Wrestling on a number of different platforms, including on Facebook at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, YouTube especially, Dominating Breakout Wrestling. With Thursday Night Thunder Punch, I lost count on how many views. What's it? 800 now? 900? I mean, I really lost count. When I was watching, it was like 560. But that was like a day and a half ago. So go out there and support the company. We're just about at 3,500 subscribers. So go out there and support the movement. Buy some merchandise. Buy a shirt, support the movement. I'm going to have more DBW coverage at a little after 9 o'clock with Corey Graves. I'm going to be asking him a lot about Robert Pearson's
Yeah,
haircut.
get on that Bonfire website so that way you can get some DBW merch and maybe get you some Ace Christian merch.
You still got time for Christmas. Right? You still got time to that special loved one. You still got that opportunity to really make that holiday season, that Christmas wish list, really, really be the year in 2023 that you're going to remember for that loved one, whether it's a daughter, a son, a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is. Go out there and buy some merchandise. The Blaze Ace Christians merchandise, some Ego merchandise, because obviously he's rocking that Ego shirt. And you can certainly make someone's day and certainly someone's Christmas wish list a little bit easier. So continue to support DBW. If you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, the past, present, and future, check us out here on YouTube at Sportswire Radio, 6579 backspace streams. Also, if you want to support us, we have an internet radio station, which, again, speaking of community, free of charge, 24 hours a day. I give people the opportunity to play a podcast if you want to play live music, if you want to hear yourself and do a better job than me, because a lot of people could do a better job than me these days. You can go to sportswireradio.org. It's free of charge. And obviously, if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that. And also, if you want, we also have a blog now, which we're back on Tumblr. It used to be when I was doing it years ago, it was the Sports Report X. Now it's back to Sportswire Radio, and we write about things, whether it's DBW guests coming up or wrestling stars or college people that are coming on here, a number of different people. So check out all those great platforms here. And again, a little after 9 o'clock, I'm going to have on Corey Graves to talk all things related to will he join Chaos Conspiracy, what he thinks about Big Tex versus Mr. Judgment, what else he thinks on anything else on his mind in the world of wrestling. It'll be a real treat. So definitely hang out with us here and hang out till as long as my voice can take it, because we'll certainly find out, because I am definitely doing my best here. But in the meantime, we are here with the Blaze Ace Christian. I wanted to ask you this question. I'm going to come to VTW in a second, but I was wondering, and I've been asking a lot of wrestlers this question, and I think we were talking about this off the air, and obviously with 2023 coming to a close, I was wondering for you, the Blaze Ace Christian, formally, what is your goals in 2024?
My main priority for next year is to literally just go on tour, because people around me know how much I want to expand my name as the Blaze Ace Christian. I want people to know who that is. But it's really hard to do that when you're not even 18 yet. But next year, once I basically become legal, it's going to be a lot easier to do that. It's going to be a lot easier to come intact with more people, more promoters. So, the main goal for next year as Ace Christian is to expand the name, the Blaze Ace Christian, and to just literally just go on tour.
Do you feel that this year you took a step into, leave aside the wins and losses? Obviously, those are
Yeah.
things that obviously you can't change it, right? But in terms of your overall performance as a wrestler, do you feel that you've improved enough to where, people out here that are watching in different places say, you know what? I want the Blaze Ace Christian. I want him in my company because of what he brings in his athleticism and his agility and his overall youthful abilities out there in the ring, and everything else he brings to the table. Do you feel that you've accomplished that this year overall?
I, you know, I feel like I was able to do that. I felt like I was able to leave a little impression on people because I had my first independent show this year. I had my first few. I had three this year. And it brought my eyes out to new people and new promotions and the world of professional wrestling. Um, as far as my current as far as my current ability, I definitely do feel like I can go places right now, but there obviously needs to be some work done. There obviously needs uh, some sharpening in the iron, if you will.
I think that's like the second time this week it came up. It came up in a prior show, and again, somebody can fact check me on this. Where I think I brought up somebody that used to go around and like sharpen like knives, and they would actually go out
Sure.
there and and do that. It's kind of funny that you said those things, and I think you will do a lot of those things. And I'll get to a couple of comments in a second, but you impressed me so much also for your age, your level of communication skills, your level of maturity. I mean, I'm not even as mature as you, frankly, and I'm older than you. The fact of the matter is, and I've been doing this for 5 years, but the point of the matter is that, you seem like to me you're going in a place where, like, you carry yourself in a certain way that I kind of think is going to lend you to wherever your heart may take you and wherever your heart will continue to desire for in different companies that will go out there. And let me say hello to me before I ask you a couple of things on a different company. But yeah, we'll definitely see you soon. And, maybe one day I'll get your thoughts on Sportswire Radio as well, champ. But, Ace, if you need some extra backup from Big Tex, you know where to find me. Well, I think he's got his own issues and you've got your own. So obviously,
Yeah,
I'll I'll be talking a
he,
lot about him in my second part of the show tonight. So I'll definitely be sure that I want to say hello to management. Regardless of wins and losses, Ace has tremendously impressed. I really think in watching you, I really would concur. I mean, leave aside, I know it's not been what we hoped for. Everybody wants to win the world title. Everybody wants all that comes with it. But in terms of your ability, I think that there's a lot still that you're going to continue to improve upon. And I have to ask you, in the interest of time, VTW, a lot to talk about there. You're back in VTW. We have a lot of different moving kind of parts there that are going along. And talk to us here about VTW now that you're back in that company. And I actually have a follow-up and a side note to another company out there in North Carolina where you mentioned the word pro wrestling. So I'm going to leave that to the second part. But tell us, for the audience, especially for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, now that you're back in VTW, what's going on?
well, first of all, check out the new episode 6 of Vindication.
Absolutely.
That's
I
going
always
live
say
right now.
maybe best graphics in the game. Them and XCW. It's neck and neck.
For sure, for sure. But I made my return to Avery Hook Memorial. It's a special show
Yeah.
for the company itself
Yeah.
to celebrate a guy that they cherish down there very well. And it left a bad taste in my mouth because Chase Bridges attacked me because I've never been able to speak to the people in VTW, believe it or not, like in the ring. And I was about to do that, but he had to come out, cheap shot me. So, he laid out a challenge for me at their next big show to cap off the year, Christmas Chaos. it sounds like a challenge to me if he wants to come out and I mean, he already beat me, so he could have just left me in the dust. But no, he wants to end my career like that. I honestly just see that as pure jealousy because the way I was seeing it and the way I was hearing it, uh, whenever he was talking about after he attacked me about how he thinks I should be a former pro wrestler and have these good memories. That's how wrestling is how I have those good memories. And sure, he made a good saying about how life starts when pro wrestling ends. You see, pro wrestling is never going to end, bro. And if it ends for you, it just means you were not successful.
So somebody there is turning this into a personal thing there with you, huh?
Yeah. And, I mean, like I said, it's a challenge laid out to me. So it just could, in the words of Lexus King, it gives me that PLE spotlight.
That's a good one. That was a good one. You did come prepared. So I have to say, this was a good one. This was definitely a good one. I have a lot of not a lot, but a few comments before I get to a second part of North Carolina. I wanted to ask you about in pro wrestling. Yes, definitely that match with Filthy Daddy was great. Obviously, he's referring to World War, and also from our friends over at the UWF. And please check them out. Obviously, Scorpion the Assassin has been a world champion here in DBW, and he has definitely been one of those Mount Rushmore types. And I would definitely say, Scorpion, anytime you want to come onto Sportswire, please follow me, get at me. And I am on a number of different platforms. I'm on Facebook at Tom Bryce, Facebook at Sportswire Radio, Instagram at the Sports Report 2021, and YouTube. I'd love to obviously talk to you one day about your future. Unlike a lot of so-called wrestlers, we both know, Ace, always keep your head up, never lose that hunger, and never stop training, and you will surpass the fakes and make the world yours. Certainly, the world very well could be yours. And I want to say hello to a very good friend of mine. By the way, on a side note, I want to say condolences to our Pittsburgh Steelers because unfortunately, the season looks like it's heading a lot more south than Bitcoin billionaire Chase Wakefield's portfolio. Mr. T3 himself, Mr. Thomas Taft, he says, let's take a trip down memory lane. First show, Primal Origins. We went one-on-one. Yes, I remember that very well. That match was tainted due to Matt Moore. I say 2024, we sit down and talk. No ego, no high power, just you and I. Yes, obviously, hello, Mr. T3. Always love T3. But what do you want to say to some of those things about Mr. T3, obviously, of high power?
Going back to when Jackson Sabre was talking about how I've been a unsuccessful person in DBW and a failure. Think about it this way. For example, T3, Mr. T3, Thomas Taft. After he beat me, where did he go? I mean, he competed in the first ever Hub City Championship match.
Correct.
He competed in the first ever Holy Grail Gauntlet match.
Correct.
And he revived from the grave, from the ashes, High Power, because High Power was trash when Chase Wakefield was running it, believe it or not. But, with all due respect, T3 has risen from the ashes when it comes to high powers. So
they had a good second half this year. They had a really nice second half.
But likewise with Jackson Sabre, he did need help, coincidentally or not. Me personally, I don't take that against me. So you want a match against me? Talk to the higher ups. We'll get it done. And like I was talking about the Stompers, I respect them, and I don't really know if I respect you a little much now. But once you're across that ring from me, you know me because you've been in that ring before. But next year is going to be even better because you're just going to be standing on my business.
Well, obviously, again, Corey Graves, I'm going to be talking a lot about Mr. T3 there in that spot because obviously we saw what happened there in their match not too long ago. So a lot to talk about, obviously, with high power. I will definitely get into that in the second part of the show. I was curious in the interest of time. Obviously, I know, you're a busy man. You got to get ready for next Sunday. But I was curious, though, for the audience. I mentioned North Carolina, right? and you talked about pro wrestling. Obviously, you had your first wrestling match this year, and obviously, we want to see you do more because you're turning 18, and now it's going to be that time where you go out there and spread your wings a little bit more outside of DBW and VTW. There's this company in North Carolina called Redemption Championship Wrestling. You probably
Mm,
heard of it. You heard of the company?
I have heard of that.
I was wondering, because you spoke about pro wrestling in North Carolina, you know, then again, what do I know? I don't know much. Obviously, there's a fellow there that was, very, very prominent in DBW there. And, I won't go into further details there, but we definitely did a little bit of coverage there as they were starting out for their first show. But when you said pro wrestling in North Carolina, I think a place I'd love to see, if you don't mind me saying so. It would be Redemption Championship Wrestling. Any thoughts on that?
Um, I don't want I don't want to give away too much, but
Don't tell me, because you know what? What do I always say on this show? If there's something don't say it on Sportswire, because it'll come back to yours truly.
listen,
Don't say it.
you asked,
True.
I'm answering.
Good point.
So,
Touche.
with that being said, I am making my plans to go down there to Redemption Championship Wrestling.
I
And
like the wrestling, by the way. That wrestling one, I like it.
And it kind of pains me that I couldn't be there for the inaugural show. But once I'm able to get down there, and I've spoke to the higher ups down there about that. Once I'm able to get down there, let's get it done. Like I will chop it up with anyone in Redemption
They
Championship
got a good
Wrestling.
roster there, too. They got a nice...
They really do.
A lot
They
of
really do.
VTW talent are there. We have a lot of independent wrestlers there. We've got some guys with big following. It's a really former DBW people there. So it's a really intriguing roster. And they did really well those few shows they've had so far. I think they had about 3 shows so far. They did really well.
I've seen them results down there, and I really was intrigued from whenever they're first invented it before their first show. And like I said before, it pained me that I couldn't be there for that inaugural show because I knew how much it would mean to be there. But like I said, next year, hit my phone. Like I'm open. I'm open.
Well, I'll tell you what. And I'll get a comment from Mr. Taft before we move on. Is that I'm sure on Sportswire we'll have coverage of that company. I have no doubt. And if they don't get in touch with you for whatever reason, I'll be sure to bring you up. I'll be sure to bring up. In the words, yep, go ahead.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but speaking upon that topic, a mindset that I have and that I've had this year, because I've reached out to some other pro companies about trying to get there to show them what I can do, but if they don't want me, it does hit me in a certain way, but at the same time, you're missing out. Like I got the evidence, I got the people, like I got the resources, like I got just a whole bunch of other people.
No, listen,
listen, that I'm just like one of the, you're missing out.
Listen, and I'll say it as again, we are here with the Blaze Ace Christian. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, and the voice of all wrestling. I watch a lot of wrestling, and I cover a lot of different places, and there is no question you are certainly holding your own. I don't want to say it without saying it, but there are some people that come on the show, and they probably should continue to focus on their improving ring skills rather than making appearances. And I'm not saying it's anybody in DBW. This is just a general point. So it's not anybody in the DBW locker room. But with you, I think with what you've done in a short amount of time, relatively speaking, in your life, I do think that you are going to, more likely than not, be a staple in professional wrestling companies, wherever that might be, whether it's in Adrenaline Championship Wrestling in a state you live in, whether it's RCR, whether it's, DOW Wrestling, wherever it might be. All I'm saying is I'm sure that you're going to be a staple real soon in those worlds.
Well, I appreciate that.
Oh, trust me, I know when I see it. I see your move set. I see what you do in the ring. You've got the figure, you've got the abilities, and I think that it's only going to be a matter of time. I highly appreciate that. The feelings are mutual. A match. No, not really worried about that at all. Just to sit down, maybe we get a bite to eat. Uncle Taft and you have a common enemy in 2024. Interesting common enemy there. I wonder if he's talking about, I don't want to speculate, maybe the Brooklyn Prodigies he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about somebody else, but I'll let those guys sort that stuff out. But no matter the hand gesture, no matter the name. That was a good one there. That was an interesting comment. At least interesting points from Mr. T3 himself and high power, Mr. Thomas Taft. And check out the Stompers vlogs on YouTube. They're far more entertaining than Chase Wakefield's I Love Aaron Jones.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get him.
It was kind of there for me to do it. But obviously, I wanted to ask you, would you have any final thoughts or anything else you want to say to Caden Phoenix?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the only thing I could really say, I don't want to touch upon it too much because I had
Sure.
mentioned before, I didn't really want to say too much about it anymore. Good luck, King Phoenix, and make sure that you sleep with those titles at night because you never know when it's the last time you'll be able to touch them again.
What would it mean to you to reclaim the DBW Tag Team Championships?
Believe it or not, it would mean a lot actually.
Okay.
Because like Simon said, that's funny.
Yeah, I think that was
didn't
funny.
mean-
I thought
I
that was...
didn't mean to do that, but literally,
You don't need the wig
said-
though. At least the good news is you don't need the black wig, which almost looks like it was like taken off a mop. Almost. Did somebody take that off a mop?
Man, you gotta get an interview with Simon one of these days.
Oh God! I get an
great.
interview with Simon. He might just want to take over, and he could do the interview himself. So they won't need me anymore. I'm sure the locker room would find that funny. By the way,
I would find that funny.
Okay, fair enough.
But
at least it's not Sneaky Pete. By the way, at least it's not Sneaky Pete.
You'd smell it through the camera.
I was like, you know what? I'm like, listen, I'll take Simon Bartholomew for an interview far more than Sneaky Pete.
But no, like Simon was telling me, this is history. In DBW, the tag team championships have never been defended in a one-on-one match. And like I said, winning this match, it's a bigger deal than people realize because whoever the next challengers are, they got to think about who my opponent would be, or not my opponent.
Who would your
my partner? Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
If I had a partner, if I chose to have a partner, you know what I mean?
I think Stone Cold did that once. There was a period, I think, where he basically, when he took the tag team titles way back, somebody can correct me. I think when he beat the Hart Foundation for the titles, the Bulldog and Owen, there was a period where he picked his tag team partner. I think there. So I guess there is precedent.
Yeah, but
I think there's precedent wrestling history for it.
But like another thing too is like I feel like people don't remember that I held the tag team championships before since it was so long ago.
Yeah,
so winning the tag team championships, I feel like it would bring back nostalgia to me and to OG DBW fans, and that's what I want is to make people entertained. That's why we wrestle. If you don't wrestle to entertain, then why are you doing it?
I agree with you 1,000% on that, by the way. 1,000%.
But yeah, like I was saying though, like a lot of people in DBW, especially now, because times have really changed and there's a lot of new people.
Oh my God! What's the roster between 36 and 45? Mr. Phillips said.
Yeah, some between 30 and 40, some in between there, and it's only going to be better. But a lot of people nowadays don't know that I have held the tag team championship, so I want people to either relive that or to see it firsthand.
Well, you know what? It's definitely a different roster. It's a different company, but that's all for great reasons. And I think DBW is going to be even further a bigger and better company because DBW, the product just gets better and better and better. In fact, it's so good right now that we had almost literally like in one 3 Thunder Punch shows on Thursday. So I mean, what company does that? So that tells you how good DBW is. And maybe you know what? Maybe one day we will have Simon Bartholomew on. I might want to see if that hair is really real. That might actually be for an interesting conversation there. It's probably going to be more real than Chase Wakefield's mutton chops, I suppose, if that's the case.
Oh my God, you going on, bro?
Well,
Come on, keep
DVG
shaking, keep
started that.
shaking up.
No, DVG started that because he's the one that said, "Oh, I just want to let you know." He said it live on air that Chase Wakefield, is starting to grow mutton chops because he was thinking about you or something like that. I was like, "Really? You sure about that?" And then obviously our first lady of Sportswire, Zena, was like, "Oh, he's really growing mutton chops out there, huh?" I'm like, yeah. Well, somebody wants to take mine off, but I have to ask you a fun question here before I get to closing thoughts. You're gonna probably chuckle when you hear this from me, but I think it was when Jackson Saber came on and Big Tex, and maybe you could tell me if this is true or not. I guess we're really breaking the fourth wall for a second, but apparently in the locker room, there's a big contingent of Yu-Gi-Oh card players. Do you know anything about this? I mean, are you a part of this? I mean, what can you tell us about that? I'm not even more concerned anymore about you and the Heretics and Divinity. I kind of want to know almost the hard-hitting questions here on Sports by Radio. The Blaze Ace Christian, I mean, who is in this apparently competitive Yu-Gi-Oh card tournament here?
I mean, I don't really know if it's competitive or not, but I do know there are people in DBW that enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh, and
Yeah.
one of them is me.
I used to be a player. I admitted that I was definitely a player growing up in Brooklyn. I did play the game very well, and then I still have my deck, actually, believe it or not.
What deck? What deck?
I believe it's the wind deck. It's the one with more the wind, and I have to pull it out, but I still have my deck out there. I mean, I haven't played in probably maybe 11 years, about 10 or 11 years is the last time. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. I haven't
Oh my
played.
God,
I'm on
man!
I'm on Sportswire every day. How can I continue to play?
I don't blame you, but I mean, times have changed in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I know one person in particular. I'm not going to name him,
Yeah, don't
but
do it here. Don't do it.
he despises the new version of Yu-Gi-Oh now, and
I would
I mean, what are
imagine
you
it's a
gonna
lot
do?
different than when I played it. I
It
would have
definitely
to
is.
imagine it's a far different game. I mean, it's a different game. But yeah, I was a pretty good Yu-Gi-Oh player. I mean, I actually spent a lot of money on investing in my deck. So I'm just curious, what you knew about this contingent apparently in the locker room that has become Yu-Gi-Oh players. And usually some people play poker, they play Texas Hold'em, and different types of card games. But in DBW, in the locker room, there's a universe, you might want to say, of Yu-Gi-Oh players. So I thought that you'd find that relatively interesting there. So maybe I'll ask Corey Graves that question. Maybe he'll give me a different answer in a little while.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to stay tuned for all of that here. But obviously, in the interest of time, I want to give you one more question before closing thoughts. And I always ask the same question to people that come on. And what do you want to say if you want to say anything else to anybody in the DBW universe that is going to watch you next weekend? And conversely, maybe anybody in the universe out there that has supported you in pretty much everything you've done to grow this company to where this company is currently right now?
Uh, so the only thing I could really say off the top of my head to the DDW Nation is to just stay on board. Don't go anywhere because it's only going to get better. Um, you know, it did take it at one point. It did hurt us a little bit with not posting up stuff for a year, but now we are back in business. Returning on Thunder Punch episodes
Oh my God, the
is
Thunder Punch
is
shows have
is
just been
so it's so
unbelievable.
good. Like speaking as a member of corporate, the vice president, DVW has gone far away, uh, considering where we first were with that homemade ring, getting that pro wrestling ring in that little garage, you know, ex, you know, expanding ourselves to the East Coast, and now that we're getting new talent, like literal new, fresh talent, it's such a cool thing to see because, we've we've had guys that came to DBW with experience, and believe it or not, um, we are planning to have training sessions within the company, um, to perfect everybody's craft, even myself. Like everybody has something they need to work on, whether it be
Absolutely.
myself,
Anything in
heck,
life.
even
Listen,
my dad. He needs some rust he needs to shave off, and that's fine. Everybody's gonna have something that they need to improve on.
and I think that that's why DBW is going to be a place that's only going to go further and further up the ladder. And that's why we love covering DBW. And DBW, the story, real quick before to closing thought, this will be my little soliloquy here. But DBW, to me, a company, a homemade company that had humble beginnings to where now it's going up the ladder, up the food chain to where I think it'll be in even bigger places in 2024 and beyond, reminds me very similar to a company that we cover in Shelbyville, Indiana called XCW, where they started out basically on ground. They went from ground to the mattress to the trampoline. They had this small little ring, and now you see them in the St. Paul's gym out there, and they have wrestling people from all over the different places. And that's why I, one day, real quick, before we get to closing thoughts, would hope to induct some actual DBW talent into the Sportswire Hall of Fame. So hopefully, I don't know if it would be as Mr. Judgment or whatever else he might be as, or maybe even the Blaze Ace Christian, if he would want to be inducted. I
Ah,
gotta ask.
hey, put me on there. Put me on
Well,
there.
so I so I was gonna ask it anyway. I was saying it because I don't know if I should. I don't want to say who I was speaking to in the company because I was speaking to somebody in the company before when he was talking to me. He was like, "Oh, how you doing? How's everything going?" I think he knew that there was something up my sleeve from yesterday. So, I guess I would ask. I mean, would you like to be inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame in 2024?
I would be honored to be in that Sportswire Hall of Fame. It would act no, but like actually, it would mean
No,
a lot to
seriously,
me.
I think you're worthy of it. You've been a world champion, you've been a tag team champion, you've been a Hub City champion. I mean, you've held gold, you've wrestled in
I
multiple different
not
places.
not a Hub City champion.
Well, the global
Ni-
championship was the tip. That was correct me. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yay! There
The
you go. There
global
you go.
championship was the one you won. It was the Hub City that you lost the title in earlier this year. But it was the global championship you won. So the point is that you've definitely had a career that I think is worthy. And I certainly think you had a far better answer than DVG's answer yesterday because he was like, well, I don't really think I'm worthy to be in the Hall of Fame. And I was explaining to him, well, you have 75,000 subscribers on YouTube. You might want to consider that you have millions of viewers out there, and you might actually want to accept being in. So he kind of, after a while, accepted it. But you, my friend, based on not only what you've done in the past, what you're doing in the present, most importantly, what you'll do in the future, will absolutely make you a very, very worthy inductee into the Hall of Fame. And I'm sure we can definitely get a couple of other people in the DBW locker room that may want to accept being into the Sportswire Hall of Fame. Just saying, just saying.
Hey, I mean, that's up to you, bro. But I mean,
Well, it's my
I'm
well, it's really one. There's one person that has one vote in this, so it's pretty much my vote. I mean, it's kind of funny because in XCW it was funny. Their company, obviously their owner Joshua Fletcher's coming on Thursday, and it was basically like somebody asked me, "Well, how did you determine that those guys got in the Hall of Fame?" I said, "Well, what did you think?" I said, "There's one person here that runs Sportswire, and that's me." So it's the same thing with DBW. So I think we can certainly figure out a day and time in 2024 to induct you, maybe even Mr. Judge. I know you and Mr. Judgment don't see eye to eye, but maybe Mr. Judgment. I think he is the best big man in this sport right now. And, I'm sure we can induct him and some other people. And obviously, our first lady on Sportswire, Zena, is saying that you should definitely be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So obviously, that means my vote doesn't count, but her vote counts. But I still my vote only. But that's here nor there. So, yes, congratulations. We'll definitely figure out a day when we induct you in that Hall of Fame. But obviously, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? And obviously, it's been a really, really fun ride watching you here this second half of 2023. I'm very excited about Merry Mayhem next week. But until then, I want to give you the floor, my friend. The floor is yours. Fire away.
So, just put down all the socials for Ace Christian. Yep.
There you go.
Follow.
I'm getting better at that. Sometimes my hand gets a little bit slow, but I was
It's
actually
all
knowing
good.
you were going to cue that. So thank you.
It's all good. But yeah, just follow all the social medias for me and for DBW itself. And if you would like to, please do, please do share and just share with your friends, family, whoever likes wrestling, because it will certainly help me, and I would certainly appreciate it. Need to practice my moonsault. No, you don't. He okay. He has been telling me he wants to do a moonsault. And I'm telling
Well,
you,
hopefully he
no.
can do a better moonsault than the cannonball from Jackson Sabre. Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Hey, you just keep wailing at him, bro. You keep wailing at him.
Well,
But
I think I'm learning. You know, I was at a holiday party. I referenced this with DVG real quick. I was in my old stomping grounds in Brooklyn, and I was talking out loud, and I was kind of almost making fun of the party I was in. And I basically was somebody was saying, "Well, maybe you should try a career in stand up comedy." I said, "Well, you know, I do it every day here, but the only difference is everybody else makes pokes fun of my jokes, but that's here or there." But yeah, obviously, for sure, I've definitely been wailing on people, but some of them walked right into it. But it's just here nor there.
yeah, I hear you. But yeah, like I said, just follow all the social media for me because it would help me tremendously. And if you were to share with everybody that you know, that would go a far way for me. It would really help me out, not only for just myself, but for my wrestling career and getting the name
Absolutely.
out there like I wanted to do for next year. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, thank you for having me on here again. I certainly do appreciate it. And I do thank you for offering me into the Hall of Fame, and I will gladly be in that
And
damn
you should
game.
be in this Hall of Fame because the people that we've inducted so far, it's obviously Dean Allmark, who's defeated Jushin Thunder Liger, Brian Danielson. We have RPD, who was the first ever boxing world champion turned British world champion. He's the Grand Slam UK champion. He's the #1 British independent wrestler right now. We had Bentley getting inducted Wednesday, who holds 2 world titles in the UK. Would be a great opponent for Mr. Judgment, by the way. I mean, a fantastic opponent. Fletch, the owner and operator of XCW, certainly very worthy of that. Justin Parsley, one half of the XCW Tag Team Champions. DVG, based on his following. So we've had some really good names. My guy, Ernest Dove, who covers the New York Mets, and he's inducted in 2 weeks. So we've had some really, really good ones. And I think that, you and some of the other DBW talent would, I think, be very worth it, especially your up and coming career. And I definitely am looking forward to that. We'll definitely pick a date and time. We'll make that happen. And I'm looking forward to watching. You can follow the Blaze Ace Christian on a number of different platforms, especially on Facebook at Ace Christian, Instagram Ace_Christian1, also the Real Blaze DBW on Twitter. Also check him out as well on TikTok, which I need to get on TikTok. I will
You
definitely do it
do
at some
need to
point.
get on
I'll
that.
do my New Year's resolution. Number 2 New Year's resolutions, Ace_Christian1, and also Dominant Breakout Wrestling. Please follow him at Dominating Backyard Wrestling on Facebook, Dominating Breakout Wrestling on YouTube, where you can watch Merry Mayhem and DBW Wrestling as well on Twitter. I want to wish you and your family a very happy holiday, a happy new year. I'm looking forward to watching next week's show, and I'm looking to the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame in 2024, and hopefully meeting you and some other DBW talent as well in 24, and watching you out there in the ring. And thank you so much for all you do out there. Congratulations on all your success, and I'm looking forward to watching you bring home those tag team championships
Oh
for
yeah,
Ego and Curtis.
I do want to ask you one more question, but first of
Ask
all,
me 1,000.
you I hope you do have a safe and happy holidays and everybody watching. So, but let me ask you the question.
Oh
Do
boy.
you think I'm walking out with the tag team championships? Honest opinion. Honest opinion.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you, because when you wrestled Judgment, I thought Judgment was going to beat you, because I thought
Okay.
Judgment, the mood he was in, the
Okay.
abilities that what he has put out there in the ring, and just the run he has been on, I would dare say, of anybody I've had on this year, maybe outside of RPD. RPD obviously wrestled Anthony Ogogo, and he was on SmackDown, so it's a totally different ball game. But
Oh
other
yeah.
than him, Mr. Judgment is on maybe the best run of anybody I've had on. And he's also, I think, just outside the top 100 in Kings and Queens magazine. So that's obviously a very, very impressive run he's had. But in this match, I think you've got a lot of motivation. I think you've got a lot of excitement. And I think that you are going to use the crowd behind you. You're going to be able. You are obviously one of the biggest fan favorites in DBW history, and I think right now you have redemption on your mind, especially after what happened at Danger Zone and Thursday Night Thunder Punch. And yeah, I do think that you're going to bring home these tag team championships. You know what? If you would have asked me against Judgment, I didn't think you would beat in Judgment, but in this match coming up, yeah, I think you're going to win it. I think you're going to win it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I will. I'm bringing them tag team championships for you, bro, and for you.
Well, don't do it for me. Do it for the DBW.
I'll do it for everybody. I do it for everybody.
I'll tell you what. You come listen when you get into fingers crossed, you get into the Sportswire Hall of Fame. We'll do the ceremony, and you'll have that tag team championship. Hopefully,
yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's a promise there. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here at some point in 2024. He is going to be inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. The Blaze Ace Christian, who is going to be wrestling Caden Phoenix for the tag team championships. And obviously, if he wins, Eagle gets those titles. He gets to pick his partner. Stay tuned for more details on that. That'll be a Merry Mayhem that'll come up next Saturday. Stay tuned to DBW's platforms and watch the show on YouTube at Dominant Breakout Wrestling's page at Dominating Breakout Wrestling. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the man behind Sportswire Radio. In about an hour or so, we'll hear from Corey Graves. We'll get his side of the story. And Mr. Judgment, Prophet Phoenix will crush you. So that's what he is saying. So obviously, that's what he thinks. And I have a feeling Mr. Judgment's going to be back on Sportswire very soon, because if he's interested, I would definitely induct him because he's Mr. Judgment. I don't definitely want that Prophet of Purgatory stuff on there. But until then, for now, good evening, and I'll see everybody in a little while. So take a break, enjoy yourself, go to the restroom, and I'll be back in a little while on Sportsfire Radio with Corey Graves, and we'll see what's up on his mind. But until then, I'll see everybody in a little bit.
Deuces.